Ross Gerber just explained why he deleted his monthly shareholder YouTube video, which had a lot of things about Tesla, which Alexandra did not like and called him out for it. And the strangest thing was, Alexandra, I think she called Ross out first, and only then it was deleted. At least the copy that was on Twitter, and Alexandra said something smells fishy here. Alexandra found multiple things that concern her. You may watch one of my previous videos, which explains that in detail. One of the biggest things was Ross seeking support from not just retail Tesla stock investors, but institutional investors as well for his run for the Tesla board, which was unexpected to many Tesla stock investors, I think. The way Ross spoke about it was not just to say, I'm just doing it just to follow the rules that I need to follow to let all of the investors know I'm running. He spoke like I will represent retail Tesla stock investors and institutional Tesla stock investors, so he is clearly seeking support from institutional investors as well. And it makes sense for him because institutions have a lot of votes. Ross also just was on TV, and we'll get to that in a moment. And here is his explanation why he deleted these videos from both YouTube and Twitter. Unfortunately, due to the SEC, we are not allowed to keep our shareholders' meetings posted unless sent through a long review process. They have always been taken down after they are done live. And if you go through the comments, it seems like it checks out. No one said that previous streams were not deleted after they were posted. So looks like it all checks out. Although if you understand SEC rules, maybe leave a comment down below. There's a little bit of pushback, but I am not able to confirm it. The question that I would have is, how long can these stay up? Because they are not taken down immediately after the live stream. They are left for a few days. At least the one that was on Twitter was up, I think, for at least a few days. I'm not exactly sure how fast the one from YouTube was taken down. If you know, please leave a comment down below. There are a few more very juicy details that we need to get through. Some of which will not look great for Ross. Ross's fund today, the ETF, sold 500 Tesla shares. I don't think it's because he actually sold the stock. I think it's someone else selling their ETF that holds Tesla stock, and therefore he had to sell Tesla stock. So I don't think it is him selling Tesla stock, but we don't know for sure yet. I think Ross is definitely smart enough to not reduce his Tesla stock position at the moment if he wants to be elected and gain some support from retail Tesla stock investors. If he did actually sell Tesla stock, I think that will cost him quite a few votes. And then there's this question: does Ross Gerber trade Tesla stock? Well, Alexandra has some information on that, and the short answer is, at least from October of 2021, Ross does not trade Tesla stock. He just buys and holds pretty much. However, Alexandra here says, but Ross's fund bought and sold a few other stocks, for example, Rivian, so it's not always buy and hold. And Alexandra thinks that Ross started investing into Tesla stock about 10 years ago, which is really early. For that, I respect Ross a lot. I did not get into Tesla stock that early. I was not brave enough. I got in early 2019. However, if we look into some more details, and remember, this is in 2020, this was before Ross had his ETF, although he did have his firm already where, for example, he manages private accounts. And read this. I actually had 3,500, I assume, shares of Tesla. I bought at $30 too, 7 years ago. Today, same thing, I have 200 left, sold much along the way. I have traded it and added a bunch last year, but if I didn't take profits, what would that be worth? So it doesn't sound exactly that Ross is completely opposed to trading Tesla stock. And remember, this was in 2020. So yeah, the question is, what would all of that stock that Ross sold back in 2020, early 2020, would have been worth? This tweet was right before Tesla doubled pretty much, and then doubled again, and then again. Today, if Ross kept that stock, that would have been up 580%. And the stock price that Ross is talking about here, this is before the stock split. I mean, the one that we just had, and the one that we had before then. So then we adjust this for the stock splits. This is actually not $30. He bought stock for as low as $2. The stock is now $200, 100x. So roughly the $100,000 that Ross put into Tesla stock today would have been worth $10 million. Here is the explanation that Ross has for that. Mind you, this is from 2020, early 2020. At that time, it jumped from $30 to like $85. This is before both splits. So the stock jumped from $2 to about $5.50 quickly. And I like making money, so I sold half. Then I sold more than the stock about 2x again. So Ross sold for $12 split adjusted. Anyways, the other parts of my portfolio have done very well too. But yes, it is annoying. If Ross sees this tweet from January 13th, this is not just going to be annoying. This is going to be one of the bigger regrets of his career, I think. And then he continues, I don't spend a lot of time with what ifs. I've done okay. So looking at this past history, I'm not sure if it would be entirely fair to say that Ross does not trade Tesla stock, that he only buys and holds, because he did sell before. But at the same time, I understand he's a fund manager, so he can't just let one position just continue to run to a point where it's most of his portfolio. Although the way that he is using this language, it sounds like he bought the stock for himself, not for his clients or for his fund. So in that case, no excuses. But I'm not entirely sure. Maybe he just bought this for his fund. Anyway, can you see now why I get excited when Tesla stock, drops a little bit more, and why I keep buying even when Tesla stock goes up? Because even if it drops in a short term, I believe deeply in the long term, it will explode again. And then everyone is going to look so silly who sold their stock once it doubled. Of course, past performance does not guarantee future performance, but I'm just trying to say, I think the same thing is going to happen again in the future. And that's how ridiculous many people will look. So I took this tweet from Ross, and then I translated it into what it would look like if I adjust everything for stock splits just on screen. How silly would it actually read? Take a screenshot if you would like. I'm not going to post it on Twitter because, I'm a gentleman.
Is that Bloomberg number right? How many shares do you guys own?
Yeah, the number is 440,000 shares.
Okay.
That reported on our 13F with the SEC from December 31st. Really, it's not really about running for the board for me as much as fixing the problems at Tesla. And that's really why I feel like I've been forced to do this, is because Tesla doesn't seem to want to accept certain realities. And it's very upsetting to me.
I think that Ross actually believes the statement that he just made, that he is running for the board, not because he just wants to be on the board for the sake of being on the board, but because he thinks that Tesla needs to change and Tesla is not listening to him. But on the other hand, even if he didn't, he would still have to say that same thing, because otherwise, how would you really get elected? And also, every political campaign pretty much sounds like that. And make no mistake, this is going to look like a political campaign. Tesla is a huge company, and the community right now is a little bit divided, although I have seen multiple polls after Tesla stock pretty much doubled from its lows, and every poll I have seen so far is overwhelmingly against Ross. not just a little bit against Ross, overwhelmingly against Ross, like this one. Only 10% of the people voted they would like to see Ross on the board. 78% of the people said no, and only 13% said not sure, or see more results. Compare that to a poll I ran then Ross first presented this idea. Only 42% of the people that voted in this poll said they do not want Ross Gerber on the board. The only poll that I have seen that was in favor of Ross was the one that Ross himself ran. Now, keep in mind, when you run a poll, and if you're asking, do you want me on the board, you would expect most people will say yes, because this is Ross's audience. It's like if Stephen Mark Ryan did a poll asking people, am I awesome? I would expect that poll, 90% of people, 80% of people saying, hey, yeah, you're awesome, Stephen. This is Ross's audience. And even in this case, he only won by 3.3%. And this is when Tesla's stock was basically at the bottom, close to $100. And I think it is pretty clear that more people now do not want Ross to be on the board compared to before. I mean, even if you just look at my small polls, but since Ross ran that poll, multiple people have spoken against him. For example, Alexandra doesn't like the idea. I don't think Dave Lee likes the idea, although I don't think Lee said it out loud very directly, but he asked Ross a question if he would resign, and Ross never answered that, so I would assume they would be against it. And then Alexandra Merz is against it. I think Farzad is against it, although I'm not entirely sure. Leave a comment if you know what Farzad's position is. And then Stephen Mark Ryan is clearly against it, although I am almost certain that Leo Cogman, the billionaire Tesla stock investor who owns billions of dollars worth of Tesla stock, he nominated Ross Gerber basically to run for the board. So Ross does have quite a bit support, and he has support where it also actually matters because Leo holds a lot of Tesla stock, but I think all of us hold a whole lot more Tesla stock than Leo himself alone.
You've talked to us about this. You want it to be a little bit more professionally run. You want Elon's focus to be on Tesla.
Yeah. You know, I think we can get over the nonsense that he works at Tesla when he works at Twitter. And I think that there's, you know, only so much time in a day. And I you know, he said he's making all the meetings and stuff, but this is just a crucially important year for Tesla with so many really important projects going on that must be successful. And I'm just extremely concerned by the lack of focus on the company. I think he needs to be spending 10 hours a day at Tesla, you know, not 10 or 15% of his time. And now he's announced that he has no intention of, you know, finding a CEO for Twitter anytime soon. And so I think that sucks for Tesla shareholders, to be honest.
Here's something that I really do not understand. Under what circumstances would Elon agree to spending 10 hours a day on Tesla? I don't see any scenario where that is actually going to happen. If we demand Elon to do that, I think he will step down. I think these court records make it pretty clear that would happen. Elon said very clearly he would not accept any compensation package that would prevent him from being a CEO of other companies. Now, if Elon only focused on Tesla and stopped focusing on Twitter and SpaceX and other companies, I think Tesla would be quite a bit more successful. But I just don't see how that would happen. How would Ross pull this off? No way he is going to do that. He may try, but no way he is actually going to pull it off. If it actually does happen, it will have nothing to do with Ross. For me, just knowing that most of Elon's wealth is in Tesla stock is good enough for me to feel like, yeah, Elon is paying attention to Tesla. there's a huge financial incentive for Elon to make sure Tesla stock does very well long term.
Tesla on the year has had a pretty big rally. As you know, the market has too, generally speaking, until things slowed down the last week. Tesla shares up 85%. During that time, a fund of EVs that I track is up about 20%. GM and Ford's little changed, 4%, GM up 20%. So Tesla's still beating the heck out of its peers. Is that not an affirmation that Musk's leadership is doing something right?
Well, first of all, you're comparing it to two really poorly run companies. Not poorly run, I would say, in really bad condition. You're comparing to auto companies. We compare Tesla to Apple and, Microsoft and big cap tech companies because that's where Tesla's at.
Ross deserves some credit here. Ross understands Tesla is not a car company, it is a tech company, so therefore it is more fair to compare it to other tech companies instead of comparing it to GM and Ford.
We also don't look at performance for 6 weeks. We look for performance over, let's say, the last year. And Tesla's vastly underperformed the tech giants over the last year.
And this is where I have to push back against Ross, even though when you look at stocks, so Microsoft stock down 10%, Apple stock down 7%, Facebook stock down 14% roughly, Netflix stock down about 9%. Amazon stock, though, is down 34% compared to Tesla's 21% in the last 1 year. You have to compare how the actual companies are doing. And then we look, for example, at the revenue growth. Clearly, Tesla is doing absolutely phenomenal while all these other companies are not doing as great. And you look at all other metrics and they all look basically the same. Tesla is growing much faster than all of these other companies.
All these things are massive amounts of work and need, and they have good teams running them. But, I just don't know of any company where the CEO kind of dials it in for a certain amount of hours a day on their way to work at another company.
Well, I actually know of someone who has built this very successful publicly traded company, and at the same time, while this company grew like you would have never believed, that same person also built a company that is worth over $100 billion that is also private still. That person is Elon Musk, and that other company that's worth over $100 billion is SpaceX. Elon Musk has been doing this for a long time, so I don't think this is the end of it all. Of course, Tesla, I think, would do better if Elon exclusively focused on Tesla. Currently, I don't think there's anyone who would do a better job than Elon being a CEO of Tesla for now, and probably for a long time to come. And this is the Tesla stock buying opportunity explained by Elon Musk. My name is Matt Posius. Like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.